starting lineup, uniforms, and apparel present the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast.
Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. It's great to be back with you guys once again. This is episode number 5. Of course, our promoting sponsor or our presenting sponsor for the program, Mitch Scott from Starting Lineups, Uniform and Apparel. It's great to have him on board, and we appreciate everything he does to support us in all of his social media, sharing the podcast and sharing any news and updates we have. Not a whole lot right now, but there will be, and it's going to be great to have him along for the ride. Of course, last episode on the program, episode number 4, featured 2 players from the Shaw Lake Crushers, Mackenzie Fleming and Daniel Zweep. Unbelievable podcast. Really had a great time chatting with them. I couldn't believe that the podcast ended up being almost an hour. It's funny. You go in and you say, well, we're gonna chat. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and we'll see how it goes. And maybe it'll last 15 minutes, maybe it'll last half an hour. But the fact that the conversation went on for an hour just really spoke to me on a number of levels. First and foremost, that it was just a great experience all around having those guys on and hearing what they had to say. It was also a really interesting twist, being able to outreach to some of their teammates and hear what they had to say about Fleming and Zweep and how highly they spoke of them. It really shows a lot about what this league is all about. What Mackenzie Fleming said about the camaraderie between teammates and other players and players on other teams. These guys know who each other are. They grew up with these players. They've played there with each other before. And everybody's just a really tight-knit group, and everybody's just a really good buddy of the next person. And they don't want to go out there and they don't want to hurt or jeopardize anybody else's well-being. And it really spoke to me about how close these guys were from Shaw Lake, and hopefully that resonates with some of the other clubs and brings them to that level as well. And when they see stuff like that, because really it is quite a shining example of how great this league can be if it's done correctly, and if you find a group of players that can be as tight-knit as evident by having Mackenzie Fleming and Daniel Zweep on here from the Shaw Lake Crushers speaking about their teammates and how their teammates spoke about them. So very interesting. I was very happy to have them on, and they're going to be welcome back anytime. There are a lot of things that I have swirling in my head about this upcoming season in the WOA. Of course, first and foremost, we have to have a season for any of those ideas to come to fruition. The second of them, so through this WOA podcast and everything that kind of goes along with it that I'm doing on the side with the social media of the WOAA and their accounts, what I'm hoping to accomplish will be a game of the week. So with that comes a lot of interesting ideas that go along with that, and possibilities are endless. But what the idea is to make sure to feature every one of the teams on an equal front in the WOA Senior AA Men's League, all 14 at least that we have now, and more or less just try and feature them as prominently as possible. For the game of the week, I can guarantee that every one of the 14 teams will have a game that will be featured in their building, with a complete, a feature of the town and the team and everything that goes along with it. There are a number of great possibilities with that, and that will be revealed as we get closer to the actual figuring out whether or not the season is going to happen, and so on and so forth. But with that comes along town features, game features, player features. The game will be featured prominently as that game of the week, as it will be as broadcast. It'll be videoed. It'll be on YouTube, as all the podcasts are. And there'll be a 3 stars, which will be very cool. And as mentioned on the last episode as well, we will do a pick and pool for this upcoming season. You'll have your chance to tag along with the league, tag along with league happenings, follow each and every game, and be able to pick the winners from each game, and be able to have your bragging rights at the end of the year if you do end up winning amongst everybody who enters. Hopefully we'll have a lot of people enter, and that'll really drive up the interest in the league as a whole. So that'd be really exciting. But anyways, let's move on to this week's episode. This day's episode, I guess. We've already had one this week. We had, Mackenzie Fleming, Daniel Sweep on Wednesday. This episode for the Friday, the May 15th. Our guest at this time, he's from the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks organization. He did play-by-play for them on YouTube Live for about 5 years, and he didn't do it last year, but we really look forward to his take on the league, as he's been surrounded by this league for a very long time, and he's got a lot of experience. I look up to him personally because without him, I don't get involved in this whole play-by-play deal, and I don't get involved in the league as prominently as I find myself doing now. So I owe a lot of my gratitude to him, and he's just a really good buddy, and he's a great friend of the show and the program. His name is Jordan Mackinnon, and he joins us on the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast, episode number 5. Pleased to be joined on the program here on the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast with our guest at this time. He is from the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks organization. His name is Jordan Mackinnon. Jordan, welcome to the podcast, pal.
Hey, thanks a lot, Andrew. I appreciate the kind words leading up to this. Check is in the mail.
Hey, I didn't do it for the money. No, but I mean, sincerely, pal, from one person to another, I mean, if it wasn't for you asking me to sub in that clinching game 4 against Durham a few years back, I might not be in the position I'm in today. So, like I say, I do owe a lot of my where I'm at now in terms of the league anyways to you. So I definitely do appreciate it.
You have no idea how many people asked me after that, who was that guy that did it? He was great. And so I took that as a hint to retire.
Well, and as far as I remember, the retirement wasn't exactly your idea either, was it?
It was mutual, I would say.
Mutual. Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't move.
No, I'm still kicking around, but they keep me around, I guess. Gord still finds things for me to do, so until he stops, I'll still be around.
Gord's a great guy, and he's busy as anything with his stores. So, Jordan, I guess the first question I got for you, just can you clear up something for me? Because I got a lot of guys that sometimes aren't really sure what you do exactly when it comes to the league, what your official title is. I know you got a lot on the go. You kind of are all over the place. You want to just kind of fill our viewers in on what exactly it is that you've got going on? Because I know it's a lot.
Sometimes I don't know what I do. I'm a director for the Winterhawks, so I sit on the executive. I handle all the publicity, the website, social media, take pictures, whatever has to be done to make sure the team is, in the papers, on the radio, whatever has to be done to make sure our team is out there in the public eye.
Well, right on. I mean, and that's, you know what, there you have it, folks. So there it is officially, for those of you who don't know what he does. But I think the cool thing about what you do is kind of what I'm trying to do. And I'm not trying to step on your toes or anything like that, but I'm trying to essentially join the movement, because I think you and I could both agree that this league is so great, and now it just needs that exposure and recognition and appreciation to go along with it. Is that correct?
Yeah, no kidding. I firmly believe, and I'm biased, but that we have the best dollar for dollar entertainment available in the region. We have the best hockey product out there, and especially for what it costs you to get into the rink. It's phenomenal. Unfortunately, the way media is now, you have to create your own publicity. It wasn't that long ago, your local newspaper had a dedicated sports reporter, and you'd have, good bios and write-ups every week, but that's not going to happen ever again. The local paper, if you still have one, is one person. So you've got to, you got to do your own work in that regard. And that's, I truly think that that's where what everybody has to do, because if you're going to wait for, the local reporter to beat down your door and, do publicity stuff for your team, it's not going to happen. They're going to, they want you to come to them. So, you're doing a hell of a job with the 81s, and we're trying to keep the Winterhawks in the front pages here in Saugeen Shores.
Well, and so that's the thing. You know what? I learned a lot from last season with the 81s and following them all along for and obviously, I've got having followed this league for the last few years now and trying to do a lot of social media stuff, a lot of graphics, a lot of visual stuff. And trying to put that out there so that people can follow. I think one of the big comments and feedbacks that I got last year was, hey, if we need an update, we go to you. We don't even bother going to the website because usually it's not updated in time. And I was like, oh, I'm not trying again to step over the toes of the website, but it got me thinking that to be able to do something that's very WA specific and do kind of the same things that I was doing with 81s last year, like there's a lot of possibilities. And I was talking with Danny on the last episode about how this league has evolved. And in a lot of ways, it's evolved on the ice and it's involved off the ice, in the fact that it's not an old man's game anymore. It's a young man's game. And there have been an old school following to this league, and that's where it lives and dies, on the people that have been so invested in this for a very long time. But nowadays, people live in social media, and that's where it is. And this league needs to adapt to that, or else it's going to sink. Would you agree with that?
No question. I mean, your social media channels are vital because that's the first place people go. If they're going to look for information on your team, or even if you're going to just post something and they see it, I mean, that's absolutely the first place. You have to be updated. You have to have your website, because if they want to find out what the score was last night, what happened, they go to your website. If it's not updated, that tells the person that you don't care enough to tell them. And maybe you do, but you just don't know how to do it. So it's up to everybody to, find the people that can deliver this type of content, because it's what people expect now. They expect immediate content right away. And, they expect updates as they happen in the games. It used to be, you found out the next morning, when you listen to the radio and got the scores the next morning. Well, now people want to know that night, and they want to know who scored and what happened and everything else that went on.
Oh, absolutely. I'm still working on the whole live thing. That's what I got a lot this year. And I think you and I got to collaborate a bit on that as to how to make that happen, because I found that was one of my biggest struggles, was that when I went and did a game, it was usually a long time after to get that uploaded to YouTube, because, well, I kind of did it to myself because there was an extensive edit that went into it. But I also did it to myself in the fact that I just didn't have the time at the end of the day to sit there and edit an hour and a half or 2 hours of game film to get it perfect, to the point where then I'd have to wait another day for it to just be uploaded to YouTube. So I think I got the question a lot about, hey, is this live somewhere? And I'd be like, oh man, you know how awesome that would be? Because then if they can't make it to the game, at least they got some way to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, live is, well, we were lucky in Saugeen Shores that our municipality put in a cabled connection for us, because we ran off Wi-Fi for the first 2 or 3 years, and it was terrible. Like, the quality wasn't great. You can go back and watch them. They're all on YouTube. It's, it's cutting in and out. We'd have, if there were too many people in the building, the Wi-Fi would cut out partway through the game, and we'd have to go reset it and kick everybody off. And it was a big pain in the butt until we got that cabled connection. And I don't know if it still works, but it's still up there. So if you come to, hopefully we have games this year, you can come to Port Elgin and we can hook that up and see if it works. But I mean, I know your pain. We made a decision. We were going to be a bare bones broadcast and just do it live. And if it worked, it worked. And if it didn't, well, it didn't. But there was a few places it did work live. It worked a little bit in Durham live, and it worked in Drayton, actually, was one of the other ones we did there when the 81s were still playing there. So,
right.
But other than that, if you're going to try to rely on Wi-Fi, you're pretty much sunk, because it's going to give out on you at some point.
Yeah, like I did find that struggle this year. Like there were some places that it was just like you got set up and everything like that, and you were like, oh crap, where's the outlet? It was so funny. I think, oh man, what was it? I can't remember where I was. I think it might have been Shallow Lake. They had a plug, but it was up in the light fixture, and
it's for the electric heater.
They had to, and the heater. They had to run 100-foot extension cord for me to make sure I had power where I was. It was hilarious.
Well, when they built these barns, they didn't think that people were going to be broadcasting from them. They thought they were just going to have electric heaters plugged in.
Right. Well, they didn't consider media, so.
Yeah, exactly. They never do. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
Found that out over the years.
But no, I mean, like, the thing is, I think you and I share the common bond about the fact that, I mean, I know I've got a lot of ideas when it comes to like taking the WA side of this, and like I want to make this more like a real interesting game of the week type deal, so that every league is prominently featured. I want to make sure that when there is a game in the town, that it's not just about the game, that it's about everything more than that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's the players that sell our league. Everything that gets people in the building are the players. It's how good they are. It's making a connection that people care about them to watch them play the game. So yeah, so it's not just about calling, shots and passes and hits on the ice. It's about telling the story of these guys, because some of them have tremendous stories, and the time they put in to play in our league is phenomenal, because they have everything else going on in their lives, and to play at the level they do and keep themselves in shape is incredible.
Well, and then that's just it. That's exactly, you hit the nail on the head with what I was trying to go with this podcast. I'm trying to get people to understand and recognize that how great this game is and how great the people are that play it. Because the important thing is for them to be able to see how, the people behind the mask, the people that drive this league to be so great. The fact that it's not just about the number and the player, it's about the person, and it's about the camaraderie with the teammates. It's about how tight-knit a group it is. It's how incredible the town is and how much support there is. There's just so many layers. It makes it so fascinating.
Absolutely. And that's where, our jobs come in, to get those stories out there. Cause I know sometimes the guys, they don't want to do stuff like this because it's just not in their personality. But, we try to get it through to them that they got to be visible, and they have to be out there, because they're the ones that sell the tickets, and they're the ones that sell sponsorship. And that's going to be really important this year.
Well, that's exactly it. Like that's the concern. Like, I mean, speak from from your perspective. Like how big of a, okay, so here's my fear. And I think it's pretty echoed throughout the entirety of the league. So there's a lot of uncertainty about this upcoming season, because a lot of these teams are driven by local sponsors that may just not have the coin when it comes time to pay due to make this season happen as they normally would in years past. Is that a legitimate fear, do you believe?
We live and die with sponsorship. If we don't have sponsorship, nobody's playing. Like, I can only speak for the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, because I know what our finances are. I would say well in excess of 50% of our revenues are sponsorship. Well in excess, probably closer to 75. I've never broken it down like that, but it's a big number, and it has to be there, or else we don't have a hockey team. And I've heard, I heard you talking to Zweeper about, there could be teams in our league that could play in an empty arena. The Winterhawks could not, absolutely could not. And we have to have sponsorship. And I don't know what it's going to look like this year, because those businesses that we go to say we need a check for $500 or $1,000 or even $100, not there. They're not doing it. And right. I would not even feel comfortable asking them for even close to that amount right now, because I work in the business sector now. I work for the downtown Port Elgin businesses. It's hurting bad. And we're starting to reopen here. I hope everybody can reopen. I doubt everybody will. I think there's probably some businesses that are sunk already. Right. But even the ones like, our restaurants that are staying open, they're just barely getting by. They're not in a position to cut a hockey team a check right now. And so the other side of that is, okay, so do we hike up our ticket prices? Well, how many people are going to be allowed in the building in the fall? What's going to be the cap on public gatherings? If it's 250 people, well, okay, so you take your players, your coaches, your trainers, your referees, your scorekeepers, bartenders, canteen, that's 100 people right there. So you're down to 150. So if you're charging them $10,
no, you're right.
That's barely paying your night, especially, like in our league, the home team pays the referees. So if the referees are coming from a distance, that's a huge chunk of it. Could be $500 some nights. So, I think it's going to be, we're all going to have to get creative. So me as a director, I think we're going to have to sit down and cut every expense we can find to keep a team on the ice. I think we're going to have to look at buses. We're going to have to look at practices. We're going to have to look at everything. promotions, marketing, stuff we print. I think it's all going to have to go away for a year just to run a bare bones operation if we can get on the ice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you think would you say part of that might be more of like an organized fundraiser? Do you think that might come into place?
Hard to do. People generally don't have a big, they generally don't respond well to, let's say, we're not for profit, but people look at us as for profit. So, we're not a charity, but we're a not-for-profit organization. I don't know that people would respond too well to that, just because there's so many other legitimate charities out there that need to raise money too. And everybody's going to be in that boat because the usual sources of sponsorship and money are not there this year. So you can try, you're looking, we need to raise tens of thousands of dollars. So, how do you do that in a way that's effective? I don't know. We're going to have to certainly think outside the box, because all options have to be on the table this year, or else, everybody's going out of business.
No question. It's like, it's not like you can just run a car wash on a weekend and call your season a go. Like, it's not that simple.
No. And it, we're going to need buy-in from the fans. I mean, the Winterhawks are one of the teams that offer season tickets. It's money for us up front. Our season ticket holders get a bit of a break on tickets throughout the season, so they get a little bit off. And that's money for us up front, so we can, we pay for training camp and pay for that sort of thing. And maybe training camp's off the ice this year. I don't know.
Right.
Because that's 2 skates a week right there.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, there's just so many unanswered questions at this point, and that's what I think everybody's just really freaking out about, is the unknown and what's going to happen. And I think people just want to know. Like, I mean, personally for me, I just want to know. I just rather know ahead of time. Okay, it's not a go. It is a go. What is it? Instead of, like I say, sitting in this world of unknown. I just think that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. So.
Yeah, it's tough because none of us know either. It's a giant wait and see, because there's we're waiting on the province of Ontario. What are our restrictions going to be in 2 months or 3 months? So I think we'll have to prepare, and we'll have to come up with an idea of what might happen, unless the league, unless the WA tells us otherwise. But I think we'll have to try to figure something out and then roll with the punches and see what we can do.
Sure. No, I get that. Let's talk about the season. I mean, we didn't come all the way here just to talk about all these.
We don't want to talk about business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good to talk about that stuff, because obviously we need to. But at the same token, I want to talk about the Winterhawks, because, I mean, that's, you're representative of them. This past season, obviously, like, you guys had a great regular season, and then to be ousted in the first round by Tillsonburg was probably something that wasn't necessarily expected. I guess, what was your take on the season, if you could sum it up?
I thought we had a pretty good team. I thought we were right there. We're a team that's built on, we're built from Jeff Flagler out, right? We're a team that doesn't give up goals. So we had Jeff Flagler and Eric Pachev and Matt Tootin and net, who all played well for us this year. And we had, 7 or 8 strong defensemen. And that was how we built our team. And, you only have to look at the scoring sheet, because I don't know, you have to go down a long way to find a Winterhawk, I think.
Yeah, I did notice that.
That may have been our undoing, to be honest. I think maybe there were times when we needed to score a few goals quickly, and we struggled to do that. It wasn't for lack of trying, because there were nights when we absolutely dominated and the puck just didn't go in. But, I mean, it's all excuses. Tillsonburg's got a hell of a hockey team. And they played really well. Tommy Lee was unbelievable for them. And before I forget, I got to give a shout out to Jeff Flagler, though, because he played that series on one leg, and he was badly hurt, and it hurt to watch him play. And he gutted it out, and he played phenomenal. And it was quite something to see, because of the rules this year, we had to cut down to 2 goalies, so we only had him and Eric Pachev at the end. So we were getting into a tight spot, but Jeff gutted it out, and it was pretty awesome to see.
So, yeah, I mean, like, so that was the interesting part of it, though, is that you guys fought tooth and nail all year long amongst the other top four. You guys, Ripley, Shelburne, Clinton. It just seemed like you guys were jockeying for position top four. I want to ask you about the balance of the season, because that was also the really interesting thing that I saw all season long, was how close and competitive it was all season long. And I think it's been I think it was the most competitive it's ever been. Would you agree with that?
That was, yeah, it was absolutely remarkable. You know, in years past, maybe not the last couple of years, because there was Clinton and there was everybody else, but in the years kind of before that, you had 2 or 3 teams that you could say one of those teams is going to come out on top. Like, you know, you could look at, you know, you could probably narrow it down to the teams that were going to be there at the end. This year, 8 teams, you know, any 8 of those teams that made the AA side, and maybe even the 9th place team, if they had gotten in, which I think was Tavistock, right?
Tavistock.
Yeah. They had they would have had a decent shot against Ripley.
I think so.
I don't know they would have beat them, but I think they would have given them a run. And,
for sure.
And yeah, like I've never, you know, the new rules did what they were supposed to do, and that was level the playing field, because everybody had a shot on any given night, and it was all about staying healthy and, you know, your top guys going, and that's what that's what we saw with you know, when Clinton's top guys got going, they got going, and Ripley's top guys were going all year, and so I mean, we scratched out some wins and we stayed right in that top up there, but we hit some injuries there in December, January. Now your pal Curtis Johnston there, we lost him for the year, and you know, Brent McDermott got hurt there. He was on fire till he got hurt, and Theo Peckham got hurt. And it's not excuses. Everybody gets hurt. Like, everybody has to deal with injuries, but it just seemed to creep up on us all at once. And we lost a couple of games, I think, because of that, because we just didn't have that depth there that we normally had. But, you know, that's the way it goes in this league, especially because, you know, it's a physical league and guys get hurt.
Well, and like you speak to that, right? If you get top tier talent that goes down that you're relied upon to score, that's going to hurt you. If this past season, points were at a premium. If you don't get them in the games that you need them, that's going to hurt you. Was there, so being a student or a follower of this league for as long as you've been, you kind of have an idea from season to season as to what goes on, and you can pick out different things. You got a real good eye for the league in general. What would say was your biggest surprise from this past season?
Oh boy. Well, I don't think anybody saw Shelburne finishing in second place. That was something else. I mean, that was a lunch pail team, and that team earned every break that they got. I remember they came into Port Elgin and they just pounded us. Like, they were all over us. They were aggressive, and it was, I think it caught our guys off guard for at least first part of the game. So, you know, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch too much of that series with Minto, but that was and there's 2 similar teams, both 2 teams. And when Minto found their gear there, I think when Mr. Graham came back there, they found another gear, and that was big help for them. And I think there's probably a few teams that I would say surprised me a little bit. The team that I'm watching, like the team that I'm telling you right now is going to win a championship, Seaforth. That is a phenomenal team that is just getting better every year. And they got a keeper there in the Holden Lansing. If they build around him and he brings a few buddies in, I think they're going to be really dangerous for a long time. And of course, Ripley's going to
get a ton of skill.
Yeah. And as long as Ripley has Garrett Muirs, they're going to be dangerous. And as you know, this league is all about top end talent. If your big guys are going, you'll be fine. And because this has always been a scoring league. So, you know, it's if you got a guy that can put 40 points on the board for you, you're going to win games.
Oh, absolutely. You speak it on the head. Like, we were really fortunate in Minto to have Adam Kowalik, and obviously his line mates, and bringing in Zach Graham, huge addition, turned the season around. That the start of the year, the 3 points at the end of November, turned it around, ended up squeaking into 7th. That was huge. And then to be able to take it to Shelburne, they learned a lot from that series, and to be able to move on in 6 games and then go into Ripley, drop the first 2, but win the next 2. Who knows what could have happened? I think a lot of people out there, you know, I mean, they might have thought, hey, Ripley would have prevailed because they were the top team in the season. They only lost 3 games in regulation. For them to lose 3 in a row, that would have been unheard of. But I mean, that's serious. Like from watching them from start to finish and the growth, that was just incredible to watch. But yes, I do agree with you in Shelburne being a big surprise. They finished outside the AA the year prior, and then they get into second place. Some people would chalk that up to their scheduling and being favorable as opposed to the other teams. But again, I from seeing them play 8 times last year, like there is no doubt that they are deserving. They were deserving of that second place finish, and they gave us a real run. And like I say, if it was a doormat, there was no doormat teams in the league last year. But had Minto played a doormat team, then when they go into Ripley, like let's say they sweep the first round, let's say, for example, if they go 4-0 in the first round last year and then go into Ripley for the second round, I don't think there's any way that they win one of those games in Ripley in the second round. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. Definitely, when you're pushed straight from the very start. And it's definitely what Shelburne does, because the times I saw them, they worked their butts off every shift, and that was what did it for them, right? Like, I think they had a couple of guys who scored a lot of points for them, but that was a top to bottom team that just worked hard.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, part of it is how a team comes together. I mean, like, I think it's so important that once a team starts gelling, once a team starts to get a couple wins going, it can mean everything. When it comes to the Winterhawks, like, do you anticipate, like, if next season is a go, do you anticipate there being a major shift, or do you expect there to be maybe a couple minor changes, and then who knows? Like, what do you expect for next season?
Always hard to say. It's always hard to say, especially this time of year, because, you never know. I think we have a pretty good group of guys that are going to come back. I think you never know I always say you never know until they show up to camp, right? So yeah. I think we got a pretty good group that are committed to coming back. You never really know for sure. Guys change their minds over the summer. I don't know if, pandemics change things for guys that might have to travel a little bit. We had a couple of guys who were traveling from school and back. So we'll see. I think, we're always looking to get better. We obviously have to get better because we lost in the first round. So we have to get better. I think we probably identified the area that we need to get better at and not scoring goals, but that's easier said than done, especially, we're in Gray and Bruce counties. There's 100,000 people in 5 teams. So it's hard to, sometimes you gotta dig pretty deep, and you gotta really try to overturn every stone to find those guys. But we have great coaching staff, great management that are always out there, and they're always talking to guys. So full confidence in them to find the guys they need to find to make us a better team.
Right. Talk about Matt Turcotte. What kind of, like, how big of a like, I mean, I know you probably got all sorts of stories about him, because
how long do we have?
Yeah, right. But I mean, talk about him as a coach. Talk about him as the coach of the Winterhawks. Like, how big of a difference maker is he in that role?
Well, Turk's got the respect of the guys because he played with a good number of those guys. And, there's my wife.
Hi. I didn't realize it was a video call. Sorry.
No, you're all right.
Yeah. So, Turk's played with those guys. He's been, he's won championships. He's been up and down the road. He played in there's not too many teams in our league he hasn't played for. So, he knows the league inside and out. He knows what it takes to win. And that's the biggest thing is, we still have some guys left over from the championship years, but by and large, a lot of our team wasn't there for that. And so he's got, he's that channel to that and bringing that championship mentality to our team. So yeah, Turk's been a big help. He has been, I've been so impressed with his buy-in because he's been just like, eat, sleep, Winterhawks, always thinking about what we can do different, always thinking about, line combinations. I run into his wife every now and then, and he's always on the phone. He's always talking to guys, and he's always writing down line combinations. I think that's phenomenal. That's exactly what I want to hear. That's why we hired him. So yeah, he's been exactly what we thought he would be, which is a people person and trying to, be a familiar face and be a face of consistency around our team.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Who would you say is the funniest guy in the Winterhawks room?
I'm not in the room. I don't know.
No, but I mean on the team, let's just say, who would you say?
Our characters? Oh boy, there's a few of them. There's a few. Boy, who would I boy, let's see who. I mean, Jeff Flagler's a talker. He's definitely one of those guys. Funniest guy, boy.
I just love putting you on the
some of
spot,
their
Jordan.
Instagrams, and you can probably figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got some characters on our team, and
let me ask you a more specific question then for you. Miles McLean, talk about how good he is.
I'll tell you, he blew me away in the playoffs. He was phenomenal. I mean, unfortunately, he missed Game 5 and Game 6 of that series. But 1 to 4, he was the best player on the ice. He was everywhere. Him and Lachlan Elder were phenomenal together, and they won us a couple of games there, and he was unbelievable. So yeah, he's been everything we ever thought he would be when he came here. He's been that. I think he's been a little better than a point per game, 1.5 per game probably, which is, that's what we need. We need probably a couple more of him would be nice, but he's been phenomenal. And he to me, he took a step forward even as the year went on, and he got better and better, and he was excellent in the playoffs.
Yeah, I believe it was his second year in the league, right?
Third year for us, I think. He played for Tavistock before that, so he's been around a bit, but yeah, so.
Now, okay, let me ask you this. If you had your opportunity to sell somebody on the idea of playing for the Winterhawks, what would you say to them?
Well, I would open up the dressing room, and you can meet all those guys who are all phenomenal guys. You're going to come into a consistent winning environment full of guys who care, guys who want to be there, guys who are playing for each other because, that's why they're there. We're not handing out bonuses. We're not paying anybody anything, contrary to what people believe. The Saugeen Shores Winterhawks have never and will never pay anybody to play for us. So they're playing for each other. They're playing for their community. They're playing for their logo. So, I mean, that's what it is. If you're coming here if you want to be on a contending team, come to Port Elgin and play for us, because that's what we're all about, and that's what we're trying to do.
I like it. That's a great answer. I guess the last question that I want to ask you before I let you go, and this is kind of more of a league specific. You've been around this league for a really long time. You know how great it is. You know how much it's changed in the time that you've been there. Tell people why they should be more focused on this league and what makes it so great.
Number one, number one, number two, number three, the players. They're phenomenal hockey players. They're phenomenal people, and they're going to be around. Like, this isn't junior hockey where they age out after 4 or 5 years. We've had guys playing for us for 13 years now. Greg Tatey, Brent McDermott, Kazarian, Curtis Johnson. The guys been around forever, and they're around forever because they're good hockey players. They're good people. We want them around, and they win hockey games. And you want to come and be entertained and not cost you a fortune and have a good night out. This is, hey, you don't have to drive very far in our region to find a WAA center, because, you're not too far from any of them somewhere. And it's, no matter where you go, it's going to be a good game. I haven't seen too many boring games in our league.
No.
There's always something happening.
Absolutely. I love it. I want to take this opportunity to thank Jordan Mackinnon for joining us here on the WOA podcast, episode number 5. It's been great talking with you, pal, and we'll make sure to talk again. You're always welcome on the show, pal.
Hey, anytime you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, give me a call.
You bet I will.
Thanks a lot,
Jordan. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Take care.
So once again, we want to say our sincere thank you to Jordan Mackinnon for joining us here on the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast, episode number 5. We press on. We got a full slate of guests coming up. I don't know if you guys have seen the graphic that I sent out. I will resend it once it gets updated again. But there are a number of great guests coming up on the program. Kyla Nixon from the Durham Thundercats, Cole Pellet from the Lucknow Lancers, We have Barry Trude coming up from the Shelburne Muskies. A lot of great up and coming. They're also going to be Andrew Whalen and Trevor Lord from the Elora Rocks, as well as Brad Burton and Nathan Ansel from the Clinton Radars in the next 5 episodes. So it's just wonderful upcoming content that you don't want to miss out on. It's just going to be fantastic. So like I said, our next guest on the podcast will be Kyler Nixon. That'll be coming up on Monday, so make sure to check out for that. He was the leading scorer defensively for the Durham Thundercats last year. He was also tied for the league lead amongst defensemen in points. He was tied with Jordan Turcotte. They both had 29 points. He is also the captain of the Durham Thundercats, so we look forward to having him on the podcast. That'll be coming up on Monday. But that's going to do it for episode number 5. Till next time, I'm Andrew Rogers, the host of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast, and we will see you next time.